Welcome back to In Pursuit 360, and today we're going to be talking about what questions can you ask at the end of your law enforcement interview that could end up benefiting you, or at least maybe showing you have more of an interest. I don't know. So why don't we go ahead and get into that, starting right now. All right, welcome back to In Pursuit 360. First of all, I want to thank all of you very much. We're coming up on 550 subscribers, which is just outstanding. I appreciate your support, your great comments. I really do appreciate it. Anybody visiting the channel maybe has a suggestion or something, maybe something I can do a little bit better. And so if you do have a specific question, I will reach back out to you. Cameron Hollister, as an example, has posed this question. Can you give me an example of some questions that I can ask at the end of my interview? So think about what you might ask at the end of your interview. Is it going to be informational for you, or is it going to be questions to show that you have this true interest, something that's going to kind of set you above everybody else because you've asked these questions? Let's go back into, I've mentioned it before. If you're going in to do an interview at an agency or a department or an office, whichever it may be, sheriff's office, police department, federal agency, whatever, do some research. You need to go on the internet, good old, I don't know, take your pick. Google or one of these other great search engines that are out there, Bing, right? Depends on whatever. Go to the agency's website, look it up. What's their history? You are going to find out on every agency's website. It will probably, it's kind of the thing to do anymore, it'll give you a mission statement. It'll give you their core values. It'll give you some history. Like if you go to the Stafford County Sheriff's Office website in Virginia, which is of course where I started, it will give you the history of all the sheriffs that have served and the progression of each one. It will give you the officers that have died in the line of duty for the sheriff's office. They have like a memorial page set up. There's another page that tells you what the mission statement is and what their core beliefs are. You should know these. You want to ask about what questions you should ask. Your question, if you're trying to impress, should be based off of showing them that you have done your research. So, in other words, a question you may ask at the end of your interview. Let's say Stafford County, one time in band camp. Let's go back to what I know. One time in band camp at Stafford County Sheriff's Office. If you were to look up their core beliefs are integrity, professionalism. I'm going to see, now I got to pause. Integrity, professionalism, fairness, and compassion. Okay? Those are their 4 core beliefs. Knowing this, and they go on to explain more about, what each one means and how they plan on implementing it, you may go something like this. At the end of the interview, they'll say, so, do you have any questions for us? I know your 4 core beliefs are compassion, integrity, fairness, and professionalism. Would you say that there is any one that you all tend to concentrate more on, or are they equal? Now that sounds kind of corny, but what you're doing is you're telling them, you know what? I've researched your agency. I understand that these are your 4 core beliefs, but is there like one that you tend to like more than one that you not like, but is there one that you consider to be more important than the other? Or you may say, I understand these are your core beliefs. I'm just wondering, is there one that you feel is a higher priority? Because to me, I can certainly understand how they would seem to all fit together, and they're supposed to interlock and work together to create a certain type of individual or practice in dealing with the public out there on the street, right? Okay. So you're asking a question, but you're showing that you've done your research. Make sense? So, and you can do that with a lot of things. So a lot of times anymore, when you go to apply for an agency in today's informational world, You already know what the benefits are. You know what the retirement plan is. You can do things, you can ask simple things like, well, how soon would you be thinking that I may start? Or when would be the next academy date? Or be careful of questions like this. So when I worked for Stafford, if you lived in the county, you had to live in the county actually, and you got a take-home car. Don't be asking like, when I graduate the academy, I'm going to get a brand new car or am I going to get a used one? Who really cares, right? If your passion is law enforcement and that's what you want to do, who cares if you get a new car or a used car? If you go for a police department, a lot of times you're driving a pool car, so don't even bother with that one, right? But it's not about you, right? You want your job, you want your career, so that part is kind of about you. But what you get doesn't matter, right? So it's what you can give to them. So how do you ask a question that shows that you're willing to give to them? Here's one for you. How does your field training program work? I know that some field training programs, you're with one FTO the entire length of the program. Other FTO programs, you'll rotate through FTOs and rotate through shifts. So if you were to by chance to select me, just out of curiosity, how does your field training program work? Oh, see, now you're planning for the future. So you're planning for the future, you're trying to see how their program works, you're showing again that you've done your research, and that you understand that there are different types of field training programs, and different schedules and different ways that they work them, and some stay on the same shift, some don't. So, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. And honestly, that whole thing about, no question is a stupid question. Yeah, that's true if you really don't know the information, right? If you really don't know the answer, then go ahead and ask your question. But be careful that it's not something you can't go find out on your own. So I can tell you I sat on several interview boards for the Pentagon Police, and one of the interview questions is, what do you know about the Pentagon Force Protection Agency? And it was amazing to me that all these people were coming in here to get jobs in a federal law enforcement agency and had no idea about what the Pentagon Force Protection Agency was. They thought they were applying for the Pentagon Police. Well, the Pentagon Police are a directorate under the Pentagon Force Protection Agency, which was created after 9/11. And it was developed in order to provide protection for the Pentagon and DoD facilities within the National Capital Region and throughout the country. So PFPA, the Pentagon Force Protection Agency, came about for a reason. There's a history. All you have to do is Google it. Google it, Bing it, whatever search engine you choose to use. But all you have to do is search it. Pentagon Force Protection Agency. And man, there's a whole big thing about the mission statement. I don't remember that. I don't think they have a section of core beliefs, but they do have a mission statement. And they'll tell you how they were founded, when they were established, what their purpose is. They'll tell you about the different divisions, and ask questions about that if you want. Hey, I understand that I'm new, and if I am selected, I know I have to do my time first, but what is the normal amount of time that it would take before I would be able to apply for K-9? What would be a reasonable amount of time before I could apply for motors or a traffic unit? What would be a reasonable amount of time before I could apply for SWAT? Is there anything special that I can do once I'm on the road to prepare myself for applying for a SWAT position or an ERT, right, emergency response team position, or a K-9 unit? Would I be allowed to, on my time off, come out and train with the K-9 officers? Would I be allowed to maybe come in a little bit before the end of my actual shift and maybe sit with a supervisor? Because I really feel like I'd be a great leader at some point in time. And I want to end up being a supervisor. So would I be able to spend time with them so they could mentor me? Those are the questions that are like, because they're all going to go, ding, this guy wants to be here for a while. this gal wants to be here for a while. You know, holy crap, did you hear that question? Nobody's ever asked us that before. Those are the kind of questions you want. Really try not to get into things that you can find on the website. Go to the website and do some research before you go. Formulate your questions. Benefits, right? Everybody says, oh, ask about benefits, ask about retirement. Chances are pretty good anymore in the information world we live in. If you go to the website or on the job announcement, it's going to tell you if you work for the city of Fredericksburg, if you work for the city of Philadelphia, if you work for the city of Boston, Denver, if you work for the state of Colorado, take your pick, right? These are your benefits. This is the benefits that the state or the city or the county or the federal government offer. And it's pretty standard, right? You can find that information. Now, maybe there's something you can't find and you want to ask. Well, I understand that you have a 401k. Is there matching in the city of Fredericksburg? I couldn't find that. Okay, so now you're asking a good question. Shows an interest, shows you're going to be there for a while, right? Is there matching in the 401k? That means you intend to be there long enough to invest in a 401k and make some money. So those are the kind of questions that I would recommend. If you feel like you have to ask a question, then those are the directions I would go in. Think about it ahead of time. What do you really want to do when you join a law enforcement agency? I just want to be a cop and lock up bad guys. Okay, that's great. But at some point, you're going to want something else. Do you want to be a street person forever? That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Then base your questions off of that. But chances are pretty good you probably have some ideas or dreams or visions, right? I always thought I wanted to be a motor officer or a canine guy. I got in a motorcycle accident when I was 21 and swore I'd never get back on another one. So that took care of motors, right? And then I'd put in for canine a couple times, and I was on a perimeter. We were searching for a lost child, and the dog was out in the woods searching and stuff, and he comes back out and cussing and screaming and hollering, opens up his door, puts the dog in the car, slams the door, and I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, I got ticks all over me, and he pulls up his pants legs, and he has got ticks all over his legs. And I'm like, I think that'll about take care of canine. I'm just not into the bug thing, you know? Which turned out to be, everything happens for a reason, right? I ended up, making sergeant right after that. Then I made first sergeant a year later. I ran the road for 5 years. Probably the best 5 years of my professional career was running the street in Stafford County as a first sergeant. But anyway, all right, I digress. Back to band camp, right? So that's what I would base my questions on. So hopefully this kind of answers that for you. What kind of questions do you ask during or at the end of a police interview? Don't forget, hit subscribe down below. I'm shooting for that 1,000 subscribers, and then we're just going to keep on trucking from there. I got some extra content over on the Patreon channel. Go check that out. In Pursuit 360, as always, over on Patreon. There's going to be some extra content out there and some extra help that I might be able to give you individually. And believe it or not, yes, I went to the whole GoFundMe thing. Right now I'm using my son's iPad to make these videos, as well as my phone. I need upgrades and everything. I did get a new mic. My new mic is like $8 off of Amazon. I'd really like to get some decent equipment and maybe some decent settings. As you can tell, I'm back in a hotel room for work. And so I'd like to improve the quality and things like that. So anything you all can do to help me out, I'm here to help you. Let's work together. So again, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the bell notification, let you know when my next video is coming out, and make sure to, thumbs up, thumbs down if you have to. Only thing I ask is if you give me a thumbs down, do me a favor, write a note and let me know why. And that way I can try to improve things in the future. That's what I'm always interested in, is trying to make things better. So in the meanwhile, again, thank you very much for checking out my channel. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much for sticking with me. I really do appreciate it. I'm here for you. The content is for you. Let me know what else you want to see. I work off of your comments, as you can tell. I try to answer as many questions as I can in video, not just in type, because you never know who else it's going to benefit. So again, thanks for tuning in to In Pursuit 360. Hit the subscribe button. And in the meanwhile, as I always say, be safe out there.